study session.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you, and good evening, City Council. I'd like to introduce Public Works Director Tim Nebergall to introduce our first presenter.
Make sure I say this right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. If you'll recall at goal setting this year, you got a brief update of our water system master plan, or I should say our water treatment master plan. That study is essentially complete, and the consulting team of Lamprey Nearson is here to make a presentation. As you'll recall, the city has some significant debt that falls off next year, which is a great opportunity for us to reinvest in our water treatment plant and the rest of our water system. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Greg Kendall from Lamprey Nearson.
Thank you, Tim. As Tim said, I'm Greg Kendall with Lamprey Nearson. I'm a senior project manager with the company, and we also have our office leader here, Tony O'Malley. And we've enjoyed working with city staff as we put this master plan together, and appreciate being able to do so. So we'll jump right into this. Of course, the master plan is for the water system, which includes the supply system consisting of the wells and the water line between the wells and the plant. Your water treatment plant, 2 pump stations, and your storage tanks. And we looked at what are your 20-year needs, both condition of the facilities, capacity, and being able to meet regulatory requirements now and expected in that time period. So a little more detail on the supply side. You have 6 wells, and they're all in need of some regular maintenance, primarily painting and a little bit of electrical work. You have a 7.5 million gallon per day capacity in the wells, and you have a good, consistent water quality coming out of your well field. Sufficient capacity for your uses down the road or your needs down the road. The raw water line between the wells and the plant is in good condition. Currently, the majority of that well field is leased from Kansas City, the property is. So one of our recommendations down the road might be for the city of Gladstone to see if they can purchase that land. This is just an aerial shot of your water treatment plant. Water comes in from the west, north is to the left here, and it splits. You have split treatment. So roughly half goes through your aerators and the primary basins where you have lime softening occur. The other half is directed toward the secondary basins, and then the flows combined there. And the secondaries flows into your recarbonation basin in the corner here, where you feed carbon dioxide, and that stabilizes the water. You raise the pH a lot during the softening process, and that's to bring it back down and stabilize it. And then it goes into your filters in the building here, in your lab, and one set of your high service pumps, which pump to the system, are located there. Oh, point it the other way. I'm sorry. Please. Yeah, that makes more sense, doesn't it? Okay. Then after filtration, it flows to your clear well here. You have solid backwash holding pond here and a sludge pond here. You cleaned both of those out just last year. So it should be quite some time before you have to do that again. Just a little bit more information about the treatment facility. Original construction in 1968. The pumps in the facility have the ability to pump 7.5 million gallons a day out into your system. Daily sustained treatment capacity is 5 million gallons a day. If you have to, for some emergency capacity, you can get maybe up to about 6.4 million gallons a day through the facility, but you can't sustain that. That's about your historic peak and what you can do with the dire situation. As I mentioned, the split flow lime softening. You produce excellent quality finished water that's coming out of a well field with excellent water. And again, your treatment facility also has sufficient capacity for your future needs. We looked at drinking water quality and regulations, both current and coming up. We reviewed lead and copper requirements. Gladstone does not have any known lead service lines, and with the treatment facility producing a stable water, you won't have trouble with copper lines leaching into the system. Where you have trouble was when you put out a water that's not stable and it starts to eat that pipe a little bit. We also looked at disinfection byproducts. There's two classes of the disinfection byproducts which you get with chlorination, and when the chlorine reacts to organics in the water, it produces the disinfection byproducts. You have trihalomethanes is one class, and haloacetic acids is another class. Right now, Gladstone consistently meets all of the disinfection byproduct requirements. Compliance can at times be challenging due to the precursors that are in the water, but the treatment facility and staff does a good job keeping that down. You're well within limits. We will talk a little later on about an alternative to further reduce them a little bit. There's currently testing that's happening at Gladstone and throughout the state for additional byproducts that EPA will take that information and use that to help determine if they need to regulate further disinfection byproducts. And there on the bottom, we'll talk about the ability to reduce the THMs a little further. We also looked at hexavalent chromium, chromium-6. Right now, EPA is currently reassessing the requirements for chromium. You don't have any detectable levels in your raw water. The facility uses the best lime source that it can find. There is some trace chromium in the lime, and most of that is removed in the treatment process. What is in the finished water is nearly 100 times lower than what the regulatory limit is. The per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS and PFOA, those are upcoming contaminants that EPA is looking at. Think Teflon, coatings to reduce staining in carpets, that type of thing. Man-made chemicals that are pretty prevalent. There's ongoing testing for that. Up to this point, there's not been any found in your water, and we don't expect that to be an issue for Gladstone. Some of the process modifications that we considered, one is reverse osmosis, and I'll go into that in a little more detail in another slide, the type of membrane treatment. We also looked at a different type of softening using ion exchange instead of lime softening, and we did not pursue that option. One option we will recommend is using sodium hypochlorite as the source of your chlorine for disinfection rather than chlorine gas, and that's primarily safety related. Chlorine gas is the least expensive way to disinfect, and of course 50 years ago people put in the most inexpensive process, but sodium hypochlorite is a safer way to accomplish that. And then we also looked at the enhanced aeration for disinfection byproduct removal. Some of the trihalomethanes are volatile, which means they'll off-gas. And by putting, using some aeration post-treatment in your storage tanks, we can get some of those trihalomethanes to volatilize and remove them from the water and further reduce the THM levels therefore the disinfection byproducts in the water. They're not all volatile, but the most common trihalomethane is chloroform, and it is volatile. Going on to reverse osmosis, we looked at reverse osmosis both as a softening alternative and as a means to remove additional contaminants from the water. If you wanted to remove all or nearly all of your disinfection byproducts, all of your chromium, you can use reverse osmosis to do that and basically produce distilled water. And you would treat a side stream or just a portion of your water and then mix them back together. But the reverse osmosis removes a lot more contaminants, requires quite a bit of pre-treatment, and so we would recommend that you can keep the process you have, and basically if you were to go that route, use the reverse osmosis as like a polishing filter. Remove what's left after you go through your gravity filters. If you wanted to investigate reverse osmosis further, you would want to perform a pilot study where they'll bring in just a very small treatment plant and actually operate it and see how well it works. Based on the information that we have now, we would estimate a capital cost between about $3.8 to $6.3 million for reverse osmosis. That's to install it. And then once you have it installed, your operation and maintenance costs will increase, your power costs will increase. It's a system it's pressurized, so you have to pump through it. You'd have additional operation time, additional maintenance time, and additional costs for sludge disposal. The filtrate is not as easy to get rid of as your lime sludge. And you may end up possibly reducing your rated plant capacity because the preliminary estimates that we received on the reverse osmosis, it has about a 30% reject rate for the water that you put into it from all the backwashing that you have to do. There are very few in operation in this area. There's one planned, I understand, for Bonner Springs, and there's one that's been in operation down in Nevada for nearly 35 years, 33 years. But other than that, very rare in this area. Some of the needs for the treatment facility, just basic building and equipment maintenance. You have a building that was originally put in 1968. So we looked at a roof replacement. There's some structural repairs that need to be done, both on the steel columns and some of the masonry. Basic things you'd expect in a 60-year-old facility. On the equipment side, we're looking at replacing the electrical service and all the switchgear. The switchgear is all, in the original half of the building is all original, and it's outdated. Looking at replacing the media in the filter cells and painting those. Replacing the chemical feeders, in addition to switching from chlorine gas to sodium hypochlorite. Your lime feeders are really in need of replacing. They're getting pretty well corroded. A lot of the equipment in the clarifiers has already been replaced, but there's still some work yet that needs to be done there. And then the bottom one there is your supervisory control and data acquisition. That's your controls radio system. There are some updates that need to be done there and some security enhancements to the controls and the radios. We've covered some of this, most of this, converting the chlorine gas to sodium hypochlorite, installing the aeration to remove the disinfection byproducts in the storage tanks, and then installing a flow meter to record the sludge flow to Kansas City and additional flow meters in the facility to help with process operations. On the storage tanks, the storage facilities, you have the 1 million gallon elevated Antioch tank. You have the 5 million gallon concrete ground storage tank, and it has its own separate set of pumps. We'll touch on in a minute. And then you have the Linden tank downtown here, which is 300,000 gallons, currently out of service. Some of the needs, the Antioch tank needs to be repainted, and there are also some safety and regulatory improvements with the tank that are needed as far as handrails and hatches and some updates there for safety. The 5 million gallon reservoir, again, some maintenance issues there, a little bit of safety equipment there. The electrical switchgear inside the pump station, which is at the tank, needs updated, and we have the spray aeration system we've talked about. The Linden tank, we're looking at removal and replacement with a little bit larger tank, 500,000 gallon. Pump facilities we've touched on. You have a set of high service pumps at the treatment plant. They pump water from the plant up to the Antioch tank, and some of that water is allowed to overflow into the 5 million gallon reservoir. And then in the evening, when you have demand and the Antioch tank starts to get drawn down, the booster pumps at the 5 million gallon reservoir will pump that water back up into the Antioch tank. 3 pumps in both locations, 2 run at a time, and you have 1 backup in each location. So if 1 pump fails, you've got a backup that can take its place. And at the high service pumps, they don't really need anything to be done at this time. But the booster pumps at the 5 million gallon reservoirs, as I mentioned a minute ago, the building needs a little bit of maintenance work done to it and some electrical work done to it. So all of the recommendations that we're looking at, we prioritized those and came up with a 3-phase approach that you could take if you wished. The most important improvements there in phase 1, overall, you're looking at about a $15.5 million budget to complete everything. And where do you go from here? If council approves the master plan, we will submit that to DNR for them to review. And we want to arrange funding for the projects and then move into design. And again, purchasing the well field property is recommended. That's not part of that budget. That would be a separate cost. So that is the master plan in a nutshell, and we'll open up to questions at this point if anybody has any.
Thank you. Questions?
I do have one.
Councilman Frisbee?
You said the emergency treatment, if we needed to go there at 6.4 million gallons, how long is that sustainable if need be?
That 6.4, I don't think you'd want to try to do that for longer than a day. Because at some point you'll have to backwash a filter. Probably during that day you're putting extra load on it, and when you go into a backwash, some of the water you're producing goes toward the backwash, so you start to reduce that production amount.
And one more question, maybe for the city manager. How long is that lease on that property, the wells? Do you know?
I know, and I don't recall what it is.
To be honest with you, I think initially it was a 50-year lease, so the time is really to try to purchase that property.
Have we approached them at all on that, or do we know?
We have all kind of unofficially. My plan is to probably try to tackle that a little bit harder with some change in leadership with water services. We've mentioned it in conversations. We mentioned it every time we bring up the lime sludge disposal, but we're, I think, in a position where we can push that a little bit harder.
Yes, the original lease has been extended once. And I think the lease you have now goes until 2063.
You'll be in your 15th term, Mayor Pro Tem.
Ouch. Thank you.
You will. I'm good.
Mr. Kendall, can you speak about the Linden tank? We're not using it now,
Right.
and yet in here we're talking about replacing it with a larger tank. So can you speak to that?
A lot of that is to provide some additional storage in the air if you have an extended fire event or an extended demand, and also gives you the ability, without having to try to change the operation of the 5 million gallon pumps, to take the Antioch tank out of service to maintain it and still have 500,000 gallons of water up in the air while you do that. So when you take the Antioch tank down for painting, it will be offline for several months. So that plays a lot into that, is providing, and the other thing it would help you do is reduce the amount of pumping that you have to do. Right now, you pump water to Antioch tank, and it flows back to the 5 million gallon reservoir, and then you pump it back up into the Antioch tank. And it would be, I think, a savings if you could pump to both of those tanks. You'd still have some water in your 5 million gallon reservoir, but not as much. It would give you a lot more operational flexibility and allow staff to try to reduce the number of times you pump each gallon of water. Those are the things that are going into that.
Sorry.
So does that put us, so I don't know exactly how to phrase this. So does that put us at a deficit, or that's not the word I want, but does that put us in a compromised situation now, only having the Antioch and the 5 million gallon? We don't have the Linden. So adding that, I hear you saying, gives us more flexibility and eases off on the pumping. But right now, is that troublesome that we don't have that?
Well, you like to have your average day up in the air. So if your average is 2.2 million gallons a day, roughly, you'd kind of like to have that much storage. Right now you have 1.3, and then you have your ground storage tank. That would give you 1.5 in the air, still your ground storage tank that you can pump out of, but it gets you a little bit more storage up in the air.
I can add to that a little bit too. So I don't see it as a liability, because as Greg indicates, we've got 5 million gallons at Oak Grove Park. We've got 1 million gallons at Antioch. There's 1 million gallons at the water plant. So we have, I mean, that's 6-7 million gallons of storage, which is almost 3 days, 3.5 days. If it's in the wintertime, it might even be 5 days. One of the other things, though, with the Linden Tower that I think is important is maintenance. It's probably going to cost upwards of $500,000. That might be on the high side, to do all the safety items that need to be done on that tank, plus paint it, plus the location of it is extremely difficult. So I think City Manager Wingerson can talk about the last time that was painted. There was actually vehicles that were sprayed, so there was some issues with that too. So then you get into, do you spend $500,000 on a tank that, number one, you're not using, and number two, it's an extremely difficult location, and the cost of a new tank, and of course these costs are always going up. I mean, inflation right now is ridiculous, but the last time we priced it, it was over $3 million. So I mean, you could build a brand new tank for $3 million, or you continue to maintain a tank that's basically standing there empty for $500,000. And so there's some things there too. I mean, obviously, I would say that there's an opportunity too for it to be almost a landmark for Gladstone. Now, this is coming from a public works director who looks at water towers. You know, some people don't, but when they look bad, I think a lot of people do notice them. And so when you say Gladstone, a lot of people say, oh, 72nd North, the water tower in 72nd North Oak. It's a landmark. The other component of this, obviously, too, is we need to work with cell towers. You know, their leases say, you know, that they have to relocate for the city. Obviously, we would not want to lose that revenue, so it would be something close. But a tower that improves the water system, I think makes sense downtown.
And that cost is included in the budget. Okay, so you're still saying it would be in the downtown area. That helps clarify that, right, Tim? Okay.
Just a different location?
Yes. And we have not identified a location yet, but I think it needs to be in the downtown. That works good hydraulically, and it also, I mean, I think it kind of we could do something really neat. I think so.
That's what I was going to ask.
Sure.
Is the current footprint large enough to handle a 500,000 gallon tank? Since it's only 300, you know, currently, so that area is not even large enough.
Yeah, it's not large.
Put a new tank on.
It would be somewhere, I say downtown, you know, in the, you know, 3 to 5 block area, but it would not be on the same exact site.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. Tonight we're going to go ahead and visit the mid-year budget review. So this is just a point in time where we have 6 months under our belt. We get to kind of look over the revenues and the expenditures that we've had over the 6 months, reevaluate where we ended the year last year, and kind of add those things in there. So with that said, we're going to look at the general fund, actually all budgeted funds pretty much, the general fund, the community center, parks and sales tax fund, public safety sales tax, combined waterworks and sewage system fund, the capital improvement projects, which is, capital improvement sales tax and transportation sales tax, and capital equipment replacement program, better known as SURF. Something to notice with a lot of these, the major changes in expenditures, the budgeted expenditures are due to the completion of the projects from the 2020 COP. Projects such as fire truck, the half of the fire station renovation, community center projects, and the water mains. So that makes up a majority of the 2020 COP. Where we ended in the fiscal year 20, we weren't able to complete those projects, so they will just carry over. We'll just have to adjust the budget for fiscal year 22. Oops. So for the general fund, I pulled some of this information off the December financial statements, which I believe was in the last council agenda, so some of this will look a little bit familiar. Something to consider when you're looking at this, revenues are at 44% at December 31st. So 6 months, we've only got 40% of the revenue. However, with things like with the general fund, the majority of the revenue is received in January. So property tax is received in January. So that's 15% of the entire fund has not been received at December 31st. So that number of 44% at December 31st will be closer to 60 some odd percent when you see the financials in the next meeting. As far as the expenditures go, we're at 49%, so we're pretty much right on par, right on track with that. Another thing to consider is at the beginning of the year, if you remember, one of the things that we do July 1st is we pay insurance. So that's a very large expenditure day one with zero revenue and $1 million in expense. So that does kind of offset a little bit of that, 49%. So budgeted revenues, I'll have to look at this on my sheet because it's really small up there. Property tax has a slight adjustment of $75,000, and a lot of these revenues do have the same, or do have a corresponding adjustment in the expenditure side. So the adjustment in the property tax is due to the weed mowing and property abatement. Amount on that is $3,884,000. Sales tax has a slight adjustment up to $4,465,000. The 2019 sales tax we did not adjust. Gross receipts taxes, we're right on schedule with that at $3,115,000. Licenses and permits, $649,000. Intergovernmental has an increase of $47,000 to $1,405,000. That's a slight adjustment for we're going to realize some ARPA revenue for some consultant expenses, and just an additional revenue for the gas tax that we've been receiving. So we have noticed some increases from the gas tax increase that we had back in October. Charges for services, they've increased. We have an adjustment of $294,500. Total on that is $3,559,146. That's mainly due to the addition of the senior activities expenses and recreation expenses. Coming out of the pandemic, it was kind of a, not real sure where all those things were going to end up. So that's been adjusted. Fines and forfeitures have decreased to $620,000. Miscellaneous revenue has increased $148,000 to $1,063,512. And the main reason for the adjustments on that is we're trading in the fire truck. So as soon as we receive the new one, we'll trade in the old fire truck. And we also sold the prisoner transport van to Clay County, so we'll have to realize the revenue for that. So between the two of those, that's about $148,000. Transfers aren't changing. There's no change in the transfers, $207,250. There is no debt budgeted for this fiscal year. And the equity transfer increased $517,000. Again, that's due to completion of the 2020 COP projects or the purchase of the fire truck. So that comes out of fund balance and goes into the expenditures. Total revenue for the general fund is projected to be $21,585,488, or an increase of $1,101,500 from the original budget. Expenditures in the fund, again, a lot of these expenditures changed and they also had an associated revenue. So like, again, the ARPA guidance, we're recognizing part of the revenue to go along to cover the expenditure. So general administration has a change of $11,500 to $1,375,814. Finance an increase of $23,000 to $1,512,303. Public safety increased $2,700 to $9,502,677. Public works increased $135,000 to $2,359,867. Community development $777,665. Parks and recreation $2,742,820, an increase of $271,398. Non-departmental decreased $21,098. For total operating expenditures of $19,274,735. And the next slide will actually go into detail on what some of these changes are, or actually what all the changes are. Capital and supplemental added to the mid-year budget is $609,000. Again, the majority of that is the fire truck. I believe that was $595,000. We've also budgeted the purchase of 2 additional vehicles to include the enterprise lease. Debt requirements are staying the same at $323,253. The sales tax transfer is staying the same for $1 million. That's the sales tax transfer from the general fund to CIST to pay for those fire station projects in the public safety headquarters. Transfers stayed the same at $202,000 for total non-operating expenditures of $2,310,753. Total expenditures for the fund, $21,585,488. So the next slide has the adjustments for the mid-year, the requests and the recommendations. Majority of the requests, again, fire truck, $595,000. Some of the other big ticket items is maintenance for the vehicles. We had additional maintenance for the fire truck, additional maintenance for snow plows, things like that. And again, another big one is the adjustment for the senior overnight trips, $260,000. Total requests for the general fund were $1,342,648, and total recommended adjustments are $1,197,648. Something to kind of notice on here is some of the items that were capital in nature. We are trying to kind of move them around a little bit to make everything work, so we have put a few things we're recommending to purchase from SURF and some items from the public safety sales tax. Now, funds available for the general fund. Beginning funds is $4,727,706. Revenues $21,585,488. Equity adjustment $822,000. Gives us net funds available of $25,491,194. Expenditures $21,585,488. Sorry, I think I left 1,000 out there. $585,488. Gives us ending funds available of $3,905,706. There was a formula error on the body of the memo, so you may have noticed that the body of the memo had a different number than the Exhibit A. This matches Exhibit A, and there was just a formula error in there, so I apologize for that. 20% fund balance requirement is $3,854,947. And we are over that by $50,759. To the community center. Again, this is similar to the general fund in that we receive a large payment from the North Kansas City School District in January. So as of December 31st, we have 45% of revenues recognized. As of January, we did receive payment from the North Kansas City School District, so you'll see that jump to 60%, and that surplus will decrease as the year goes on, so it kind of looks a little bit different, and that'll be the same effect in the general fund. Expenditures, right on track, about 51%. So changes in the community center fund. We do have a small adjustment for sales tax, $915,000, which is an adjustment of $15,000. Charges for services, we're keeping the same. It seems like we're pretty good on track for that. Facility rental, we did decrease $46,000 to $146,000. And the intergovernmental revenue, which is the portion of the operations from the North Kansas City School District, is $175,000. To the natatorium to the outdoor pool, $190,500, no change in revenues. Facility rental, we did decrease $10,000 to $55,000. Total operating revenue for the community center is $2,545,831. Intergovernmental revenue here is the capital portion from the school district. It's $525,000. Miscellaneous revenue stays the same at $21,700. Transfers in stays the same at $788,300. Equity transfer does increase $744,000 to $1,181,509. Again, most of that, $638,000 of that is the capital projects for the bathhouse, fitness equipment, painting the pool, or epoxy the pool deck, and some other projects as well. Total revenue for the fund, $5,062,340. Expenditures, most of the expenditures stayed the same, with an exception of the capital projects. We did add a couple, or we are recommending a few additional expenditures. Community center $882,095 stays the same. Natatorium $1,024,168, which is a change of $65,200. Outdoor pool stays the same at $178,888. Non-departmental stays the same at $138,739. Capital and supplemental, again, that's basically the capital projects from the COP, $638,200. Debt requirements stay the same, $2,200,250. Gives us total expenditures of $5,062,340. Funds available at the beginning of the year, $1,359,689. Revenues, $5,062,340. Equity adjustment, $1,181,509. It gives us net funds available of $5,240,520. Expenditures, $5,062,340. Gives us ending funds available of $178,180. Mid-year adjustments that we're recommending for the community center fund. The majority of them, again, COP projects that were not completed 2021. And some of the other recommendations are actually HVAC repairs over at the natatorium. So $725,100 was requested, $703,400 are being recommended. So Public Safety Sales Tax Fund. I've actually gotten a couple of questions on this one because the debt proceeds that we've added in here kind of made things look a little bit different, but this is the part where we will add those in, so it'll make everything look a little bit more normal, I suppose. Sales tax, again, slight adjustment, $915,000, so difference of $15,000. Miscellaneous revenues increased $11,275 to $32,775. Debt proceeds, this is the debt that we issued for the radios, 911 voice recorder, as well as the consoles for dispatch. That's $850,000. That's an addition. And equity transfer increased $24,925 to $89,243. So total revenue for the PSST fund is $1,887,018. Expenditures for the fund, we've added $40,000. That's to outfit the police cars, and we've discussed. We had a presentation on the new police cars, so that will cover that, an increase of $40,000, $672,791. There's no change in non-departmental, $46,527. Capital and supplemental, $935,000, which is a change of $845. Debt change $16,200, and that's to pay for the issuance cost of the debt, as well as the interest payment that we're making for 2022. Total expenditures for the fund, $1,887,018. Beginning funds available for the fund is $357,280. Revenues $1,887,018. Equity adjustment $89,243. Net funds available $2,155,055. Expenditures $1,887,018, and it gives us ending funds available of $268,037. Adjustments that are recommended are $40,000 for the police vehicle outfitting, as well as the $850,000 for the radios, dispatch consoles, and the 911 voice recorder. Combined Waterworks and Storage Fund, CWSS. Again, starting out with the same graphic, we're kind of right on par with this for 50% for revenues and 48% for the expenditures as of December 31st. Revenues for the fund, $4,499,300, no change. Sanitation, $7,617,500, no change in that as well. Miscellaneous revenue, $50,400. It's a change of $9,400, which was due to the sale of assets. We sold a few small trucks that we've had. Debt proceeds, we do not have any additional debt proceeds budgeted for this year. And the equity transfer increased by $1,865,600. That's the amount that was remaining from the water main replacements from the 2020 COP. Total revenue for the fund, $14,102,438. Expenditures, we have an addition of, we're recommending $75,000, which is $1,403,271. Water operations and maintenance division, we're not recommending any changes, $1,005,826. Sewer collection, $463,746, again, no change. Non-departmental, also no change, $7,171,545. Capital and supplemental, we are adding the $1,350,000. Again, that's the COP projects. Debt requirements, there's no change, $1,682,300. Transfers, we're adding $450,000 to $500,000, and that's to cover the water main replacements for the 76th Street project. So the water fund will pay for those expenditures to replace the water mains when we did the 76th Street project. Total expenditures for the fund, $14,102,438. Beginning funds available for the fund, $3,735,486. Revenues, $14,102,438. Equity adjustment, $1,931,238. Gives us net funds available of $15,906,686. Expenditures, $14,102,438. Gives us ending funds available of $1,804,248. Something that was mentioned in the previous presentation was the debt service falling off in 2024, fiscal year 24. As you can see, and this is something Scott and I had discussed, that the 20% is where we like to keep everything as far as the fund balance goes. That is a policy for the general fund, but none of the other funds. However, with the water fund, the way it's calculated on an accrual basis, it's a little bit different of a calculation. However, in 2 years, debt service will fall. The current portion of long-term debt will fall over $1 million. So right now, you've got 20% fund balance of $2 million. That will basically increase by $1 million just because of that. Items we're recommending for mid-year adjustments, $35,000 for the repair of well number 3. Increase in chemical line item, $40,000. Again, water main replacements, $1,350,000. That'll give us the full expenditure of the 2020 COP funds, and the transfer of $450,000 to the TST fund. On to capital improvement program, which is CIST and TST. This one's really small, I apologize. So there are a handful of major changes on this. For CIST, the major change in the budget is just the timing of is due to the timing of the debt. So while we were presenting the budget for 2022 was March, April, and at that time we didn't know when the 2021 COP would be issued. We didn't know if it would hit June, July, or when it would hit. So we assumed that it would hit in 2022, but actually we closed, I believe it was June 10th of 2021. So it was included in the 2021 fiscal year, so we have to budget for the 2022 fiscal year. So that's the big adjustment you see there for $14,600,000. It's just because we issued the debt in the 2021 fiscal year, and we will be drawing down the funds in the 2022, 2023, and probably 2024 fiscal years. Sales tax did get a slight adjustment to $1,805,000. Interest and miscellaneous revenue, $1,800. Intergovernmental, $52,360. Transfers, $1 million. That's the sales tax from the general fund into CIST for the debt service. And the debt proceeds, we did decrease the $14,600,000 due to the issuance of the debt in the previous fiscal year. So total revenue for the fund, $2,859,160. Expenditures for the fund, this has all the debt and projects listed individually. I'm just going to go ahead and say it in total, and then if you have any questions, we can go over those. There is a lot of debt in these two capital funds, and again, most of that is just to, we capitalized on low interest rates, and we were able to do larger projects. So debt for the CIST fund, there's about $2.5 million in payments. $1 million is for the 2020 and 2021 COP, the fire station, police station. $555,000 in stormwater projects, $85,000 in park projects, and this year $10 million in facility projects. So altogether, that's a total of $13,549,850 in expenditures. Beginning funds available for the fund is $19,347,525. Again, that's due to the issuance of debt last year, which we'll be spending down this year and next year. Revenues, $2,859,160, gives us net funds available, $22,206,685. Expenditures, $13,549,850, leaves us with ending funds available of $8,656,835. And with that, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick update on where we were at in construction progress. And again, this is as of December 31st. You know, some of us, I mean, we all know that in a matter of days, we can spend $1 million in construction costs. So keep in mind, this is December 31st. So just kind of a historical track. In 2021, we did issue both the 2020 and 2021 COP. There were several additional projects, but for the projects that we're discussing, for the $1 million sales, the transfer, we had $5 million for the fire station, $11 million for the police station, and $1 million for City Hall. So total $17,229,000 in projects. The end of the year, June 30, 2021, we had expended $366,385. We've missed $16,863,000 for future years. 2022, we're planning to spend $10,311,000. That will complete the fire station. That should be completed by June 30th, and the police station headquarters should be well underway at that time. That leaves us $6,552,000 remaining for fiscal year 2023. The remainder of the police station should be built, and we should also have the city hall renovation plans up and going at that time as well. So by the end of 2023, we plan on expending all of the 2020 and 2021 COP. Onto the transportation sales tax. Again, there's a lot of projects listed here, so I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights and go from there. Big change on this one is just the use of debt, or the use of grant funds from MoDOT. So we do have two big projects that have grant revenues, which is the Rock Creek Parkway and 76th Street project, and that's where the big adjustment comes in at $775,000. Sales tax for the fund, $1,805,000. Interest and miscellaneous revenue, $1,800. Intergovernmental, $1,709,000. That consists of grant funds, funds from the Special Road District. That's, I believe, it for intergovernmental. Transfers, $600,000. Again, that's from the CWSS fund to cover the 76th Street project water mains. And we have no debt proceeds budgeted for the TST fund for this year. Total revenue for the fund, $4,115,800. As far as expenditures go, $692,000 in debt service, $3,100,000 in street projects, and $950,000 in sidewalk and trail projects. So total expenditures for the fund, $4,965,600. Beginning funds available for the fund, $910,380. Revenues, $4,115,800. Net funds available, $5,026,180. Expenditures of $4,965,000 gives us ending funds available of $60,580. Capital Equipment Replacement Fund. We're not proposing any changes or recommending any changes for this fund. One thing I did want to point out, in the 2021 actual, we did sell a piece of property, and that's the big difference that you can see from miscellaneous revenue from 2021 to 2022. So, you know, we don't sell land every day. We're not in the business of selling land, but we did last year. So that's the big change in there. Taxes, $500,000 for the fund. Miscellaneous revenue, $64,000. Transfers, $36,000. Equity transfer, $87,947. Again, that just goes to pay for capital equipment for other funds. Capital expenditures, $300,000. Debt requirements, $192,447. Transfers out of $195,500 for total expenditures of $687,947. Beginning funds available for the fund, $877,381. Total revenues, $687,947. Equity adjustment, $87,947. Gives us net funds available of $1,477,381. Expenditures, $687,947, gives us ending funds available of $789,434. With that, I will take any questions you may have.
Wow. Comments, questions?
One quick one. Back when you having 35,000 for well repair on number 3, well number, is that included in what we heard earlier, or is that just general maintenance, or is that something that needs to be done, emergency type thing? You understand?
It's an emergency type repair. The well casing pipe's got a hole in it, so we're not getting the capacity, the design capacity of the well, so it just needs to be lined, and that'll put that well back in service.
So it's out of service because of that now? Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Great, thank you. Since we've been hard at it since 6 this evening, why don't we take 5 minutes and then we'll start the regular meeting?
There we go.
Okay. Go look at that building, it's definitely, that renovation, that flex building, right?
It is. I had to ask because I didn't get it at the beginning. I couldn't understand
They're in
it.
that strip mall now. I think we'll talk about it.
Good evening.
Gonna have to.
Evening, I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 14th, 2022 regular meeting of the Gladstone City Council and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, all the members of the City Council are present except for Mayor Mallums, who couldn't be here tonight because The Bachelor is on television. We have a quorum, and would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Does anyone on council have any problems with tonight's agenda? Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
Hearing none, agenda is approved. We'll move on to item 5, approval of the minutes from the January 24th, 2022 closed City Council meeting. Is there
Mayor
a
Pro
motion?
Tem Garnis.
Councilmember Moore.
I move for the approval of the minutes of the closed city council meeting of January 24, 2022.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and double seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the January 24th, 2022 closed City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are hereby approved. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January 24th, 2022 regular City Council meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Councilmember Moore.
I move for the approval of the January 24, 2022 regular city council meeting minutes.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the January 24th, 2022 regular City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are hereby approved. We'll move on to item 7, communications from the audience. Is there any member of the audience who would like to address City Council on a matter that is not on this evening's agenda? Mr. Bateman, you had your hand up first.
I'm wondering when you're going to pay me.
Can you come to the microphone and do like normal, give us your name and address, and then we'll be happy to...
209 Northwest 73rd Street.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this city has...
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could, no, sorry, Mr. Bateman, could you step to the podium and use the microphone, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Years ago, this man right here stole my property. Okay, he stole it. I have a cave. It's very rare. It's worth a lot of money. And this city used this cave over and over and over and still does. I have documents in here from reputable businesses that talk about all the flooding there, and this cave carries the water so that it doesn't overflow. It's just ridiculous. It's all this stuff here in these documents that I have from different companies that deal with drainage. They talk about how much money in the year 1999 it was going to take care of the big problem. It was a huge problem back then. What to do with the stormwater. And they says right here, how much money are we going to spend on the cave? And it says zero. So it's just ridiculous. You know, you need to pay me. What's going to happen is There was a certain mayor that is not here anymore, and I'm sending out these documents straight to the people to let them see with their own eyes what this man has done, and it's just ridiculous that I should be up here, 20 years later. He tried to hide all this. In the documents by these engineers, they say, put a sign up there, danger, stuff like that. And nope, didn't happen. It's just on and on. So I'm going to do this mailing, and we'll see what the people of this city say about it. That's it. It's going to go to every house.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Any other comments, please?
Good evening. I'm Dwayne Barch. I do not live in Gladstone. I'm running for North Kansas City School Board. I was door knocking, and I door knocked at Councilman Member Frisbee's house today, and I remembered the name from high school, and I realized he's on City Council. I should stop by. I'm running for student council, school board. Dwayne Barch.
You're not that young. Hey, Dwayne.
Thanks for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Mr. Oldebecken?
Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Jim Oldebecken, and I live at 400 Northeast 76th Terrace. My comments tonight deal with democracy and the role of the free press, namely a responsible and dependable citywide news reporting. I refer you to the minutes of the May 26, 2020 City Council meeting, which includes comments from one of the City Council members as follows. I'm really concerned about the future. A democracy cannot exist if people don't have information. You have to have an educated electorate in order to have an effective democracy. Our local newspaper has not covered any of the issues or candidates for the first time ever. I find this very disappointing and very concerning. 2 years have passed. Since we heard those comments, guess what? Democracy's decline continues unabated, and our city's newspaper has ceased citywide delivery. Regarding democracy's continuing decline, I am providing tonight the EIU 2021 Democracy Index that was released last week. It was edited by Joan Hoey and is produced by The Economist out of London. The newest Democracy Index records, well, here are some highlights. And these are mostly lows. I'm sorry this is not very pleasant to hear. It's like looking in the mirror after all those holiday meals and not enough exercise. I can relate to that. Point number one, only 6.4% of the world now lives in a full democracy, in part because the USA lost that designation 5 years ago. We are now a flawed democracy, and we're still declining. The United States dropped in their ranking from 17 in the world globally in 2006 to 26 this last year. Only 28% of the countries around the world improved. The rest declined or stagnated. Afghanistan just replaced North Korea in last place. Tragically, the Democracy Index gets very little press coverage in the United States, virtually none in Kansas City, but it is covered elsewhere. Here in Gladstone, we can also track some democracy indicators. I think one of the best democracy indicators is a meeting like this, announced, public, and this wonderful spot right here. And I thank you for that honor and for your attention tonight. But voter turnout is an indicator here in Gladstone. You can check the numbers yourself. During the last 2 city council elections, voter turnout was less than 10% of eligible voters. We can do better. Citizen involvement in government is good, but it could be better. For many of these meetings, with the city of 28,000 citizens, we average under 10 in attendance. And I think if people knew about the city council, these meetings, what takes place, I'll get to a solution for that in a moment, that would help. Citizen communications with the city hall is another indicator, also citizens applying to serve on boards and commissions. Another indicator is having a trusted news source for our city. The Gladstone Dispatch is no longer viable for reasons those in this room already know. We can quibble about what to name it: newspaper, news service, free press, but we must have it. We must have it back. Our hope tonight can rest in some inspiration from an organization called the American Journalism Project, a philanthropic organization, well-funded, growing, that provides course-altering investments and venture support to civic news organizations. And we already have one of those organizations that they have helped create in Kansas City. Their slogan is empowering communities, preserving democracy, rebuilding local news. Their mission to accelerate sustainable growth of regional news for the long term. Most of these are nonprofit entities, so they're not driven by that profit model. And they're multifaceted, communicating on all channels. Might be print, definitely online, video, other options, social media. I wish to leave you tonight, and I'll provide this transcript of a recent interview with that organization's chief executive, Sarah Beth Berman. Let us keep this conversation going until Gladstone restores local news reporting. And I do want to say that I've completed a reference I was working on. It is a citizen guide, a citizen reference, entitled The Mystery of Mosby Cave, Volume 1 and 2, a compendium of public records indexed, available as PDF or hard copy to help Gladstonians become aware and informed about Bateman versus City of Gladstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oldebecken. Any more communications from the audience this evening on matters not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to item 8, communications from City Council. Councilmember Spallo.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Garnis. Well, I would like to say congratulations to our community center staff, particularly Linda Borders, for the organization of our Sweetheart Dances this past weekend. I had the opportunity to volunteer on Saturday night. This is the 12th year that this event has been held. It sells out every year, both evenings. It's very popular, and there's nothing cuter than seeing the dad in his suit and his little girl all dressed up and boogieing on the dance floor. And so congratulations, Justin, to your staff for an exceptional evening for a lot of gentlemen and their daughters. So thank you. And on top of that, we got some news, some good press off of it. Channel 9 was there filming, and they actually presented on the 10 o'clock news on Saturday evening. So that was really great to have some positive press for Gladstone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Frisbee.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My comments have been taken away by Councilmember Spallo, but that's fine. I also had the opportunity to volunteer on Friday night at this event, and it is about the cutest thing you've ever been to. And I think what's really heartening, the fact that it is sold out every year, both evenings. And it's really heartening to hear the comments of the dads and the granddads saying, oh, I'm so glad you brought this back. I'm so glad you're here again this year. And the smiles and the giggles and the screams on those little girls. It's a fabulous event, and Linda and the staff and Justin do an amazing job. That doesn't come together quickly.
No.
It takes a lot of effort, and it's just an amazing event for the city. So well done again. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. I just wanted to use my comments to wish my wife a happy Valentine's Day. We had our first date was on Valentine's Day 41 years ago in college, and we've been together ever since, and you can see the romantic way we now celebrate this important anniversary. We'll move on to item 9, communications from the city manager, Mr. Wingerson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple of things. The Gladstone Comprehensive Plan process is entering a new phase of public engagement. That's represented by item 10 on your agenda tonight, a special event permit for some of the promotion across the community. I just wanted to mention that and say that if people want to get involved, check out the city's homepage. There's a big button there for the comprehensive plan. Get involved, get engaged, give us your opinion. Lots of ways to participate in that effort. The next Coffee with the Cop is scheduled for February 24th at 8:30 a.m. at the Dunkin' Donuts on Antioch Road. Quick shout out to former Mayor Council Member Carol Suter, was awarded Northland Regional Chamber Northlander of the Year at a recent banquet, so congratulations to her. And I too have a quick Valentine's joke. What did the couple say after they were hit by Cupid's arrow? Ouch. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. We'll move on to the regular agenda, item number 10, considering the special event permit for the comprehensive plan promotion. Is there a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to approve the special event permit for the comprehensive plan promotion.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the special event permit. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the special event permit signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Special event permit is hereby approved. Next item on the agenda is Resolution R-22-06, a resolution authorizing acceptance of work under contract with Blue Moon Hauling, LLC, for the 2021 water main replacements, Phase 1 project, and authorizing final payment in the amount of $55,587.65 for project WP 2186.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to approve resolution number R-22-06.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution R-22-06. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution R-22-06 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. We'll move on to item 12, resolution R-22-07, resolution encouraging Gladstone residents to become informed on the North Kansas City School District bond and levy transfer ballot measure and to exercise their right to vote on April 5th, 2022.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to approve resolution number R-22-07.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution R-22-07. Is there any discussion? As I recall, Mr. City Manager, this was the presentation we had by North Kansas City District at our last meeting. And this is the no tax increase bond issue and transfer that we're talking about. But we're not allowed to use public funds to support a bond measure, so all that we can do is recommend that people educate themselves and vote. Is that right? Thank you. Any other discussion?
You did well.
Well done.
Without discussing it?
Without discussing.
That's right.
Thank you. All those in favor of adopting resolution R-22-07 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution is hereby adopted. We'll move on to item 13, which is a public hearing on a site plan revision at 7000 North Oak Traffic Way. The public hearing is now open. During the public hearing, we will hear first from city staff, followed by those in favor of the site plan revision, and then by those opposed. City staff.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. Chris and Amanda Serber, the applicants, and Tom and Mary Ann Sims, the owners, are seeking site plan approval for the purpose of adding approximately 1,800 square feet to the building located at 7,000 North Oak Traffic Way in order to operate Pure Water of Kansas City, a Gladstone-based business. Their plan is to remodel the interior and exterior of the building and improve the parking lot on the west side, which is the back side of the property. Mr. Sims also plans to install a new stone veneer approximately 4 feet tall on the front side of the building and enhance the landscaping around the monument sign adjacent to North Oak Traffic Way. With Mr. Sims upgrading the landscaping around the monument sign, using more natural landscaping that requires minimal water, city staff is not requiring the installation of underground irrigation. Northeast 70th Street, which is a dead-end street, is already being utilized by the AT&T maintenance facility directly to the south of 7,000 North Oak Traffic Way for large commercial vehicles. In the stormwater analysis conducted by Call Valley Engineering, they recommend an extended detention basin on the west side, which is the back side of the property, that will provide reductions in stormwater runoff rates and volume. City staff recommends that the following conditions be considered if the City Council chooses to approve this project request. Number 1, any and all disturbed areas shall be sodded. Number 2, all manicured grass and landscaped areas shall be maintained in perpetuity. Number 3, all mechanical equipment on the roof and ground shall be screened from public view, similar in design to the rest of the structure. Mechanical screening will be submitted and approved as part of the building permit. Number 4, the trash dumpster shall be enclosed with materials consistent with the primary building and located on the west side of the property, shielded from public view. Specific construction materials and colors shall be submitted and approved as part of the building permit. Number 5, all exterior lighting on the site shall be LED and designed to reduce adverse impact on adjoining properties. Number 6, trash service and deliveries shall occur between the hours of 7 o'clock a.m. and 10 o'clock p.m. Number 7, tractor trailers, RVs, and storage containers shall not be parked or stored overnight on the premises. Number 8, signage compliant with the sign code shall be used. Signage shall be approved at the time of permitting. City staff recommends that the request be approved contingent upon the conditions listed above. In addition, the Planning Commission unanimously approved this project at the previous Planning Commission meeting. Tonight we do have Chris and Amanda Serber and Tom, and I'm not sure if his wife is in the audience tonight, but they're here. I don't believe they have a presentation, but we'll be willing to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. Any questions for city staff?
I do have a question, Nelson. You said that the AT&T folks use the street for heavy commercial trucks. Do we anticipate this business having, quote, heavy additional commercial vehicles?
I do believe they anticipate 1 or 2, maybe not the size of semi-trailers, but a little bit smaller, going to their location per week. So probably similar in size to what AT&T is already using.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Greer. If the applicant or if there's anybody else that would like to make a presentation in favor of the site plan revision, you're welcome to come to the podium. If not, we'll move on. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to the site plan revision? Any further testimony from the audience, city staff, any questions from city council, city manager? Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. We'll move on to item 14, the first reading of bill number 22-09, an ordinance approving a site plan revision for property at 7,000 North Oak Traffic Way.
Go ahead. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to place bill number 22-09 on its first reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to place bill number 22-09 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of placing bill number 22-09 on its first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, bill number 22-09, an ordinance approving a site plan revision for property at 7,000 North Oak Traffic Way.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to accept the first reading of bill number 22-09, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 22-09, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 22-09 on its second and final reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 22-09, an ordinance approving a site plan revision for property at 7,000 North Oak Trafficway.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 22-09 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.586.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 22-09 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.586. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Moore.
I just want to say I'm pleased to see the improvements in this property on North Oak, and I think this will be a good investment in this site.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would echo the comments of Councilmember Moore. Any improvements to buildings on North Oak is very welcome. Any further discussion?
And we hope it's a long-term solution for your property there. That will be really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Stallo?
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Aye. Bill number 22-09 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.586. We'll move on to item 15, the first reading of Bill number 22-10, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Southeast Community College to provide clinical field training for students in the school's paramedic program.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Moore.
I move to place Bill number 22-10 on its first reading. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to place Bill number 22-10 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 22-10 on its first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 22-10, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Southeast Community College to provide clinical field training for students in the school's paramedic program.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Moore.
I move to accept the first reading of Bill number 22-10, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 22-10, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 22-10 on its second and final reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 22-10, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Southeast Community College to provide clinical field training for students in the school's paramedic program.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to accept the second reading of Bill number 22-10 and enact it as ordinance 4.587. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 22-10 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.587. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Stallo?
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Aye. Bill number 22-10 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.587. Move on to item 16, the first reading of Bill number 22-11, an ordinance authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Highway Safety Program and receive grant funds under the terms outlined by the Missouri Department of Transportation for the purpose of increased enforcement of traffic laws.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilmember Frisbee.
I move to place Bill number 22-11 on its first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to place Bill number 22-11 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 22-11 on its first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 22-11, an ordinance authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Highway Safety Program and receive grant funds under the terms outlined by the Missouri Department of Transportation for the purpose of increased enforcement of traffic laws.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to accept the first reading of Bill number 22-11, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 22-11, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 22-11 on its second and final reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 22-11, an ordinance authorizing the city to participate in the Missouri Highway Safety Program and receive grant funds under the terms outlined by the Missouri Department of Transportation for the purpose of increased enforcement of traffic laws.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 22-11 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.588.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 22-11 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.588. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spallio?
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garna.
Aye. Bill number 22-11 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.588. Move on to item 17, other business. Is there any other business for City Council this evening? With that, we will stand adjourned.